Assembly 10,039B, Rules Report Number 393. Mr. Ortiz, an act to amend the public health law.
Read the last section.
This act shall take effect on the 60th day.
Record the vote. Mr. Ortiz to explain his votes, finally.
Now I am ready, Mr. Speaker. Let me just let me thank Speaker Silver, Jim Hayes, and also our colleague in the Assembly, Chairman Godfrey, and his staff for the work that they put into making this bill to come to the floor and be a reality. I would like to say that one organ donor can save up to 8 lives. The same donor can also save or improve the life of up to 50 people by donating tissues or an eyes. More than 114,000 people in the United States are waiting for organ transplant. Of this, more than 8,000 live right here in the greater New York metropolitan area. One average of 18 people die every day while waiting for organ transplant in the United States, and every 10 minutes, another name is added to the waiting list. In New York State, some dies every 13 hours waiting for an organ transplant. Each year, more than 1 million people need life-saving and life improvement tissues and eyes. Only 19% New Yorkers at the age of 18 and over have enrolled in the New York State Donate Life Registry as organ, tissues, and eye donor. Nationwide, the average is 43%. Mr. Speaker, I also would like to thank the Lawrence family for giving me the opportunity to introduce this bill. As many of you know, that my mother got a kidney transplant, and many of you know that I have spoken on the floor about my child who has a defibrillator and is also waiting for a heart transplant. And I also will commend my colleague in the Assembly, Mr. Conti, for his effort and his work on working together to make this day a historical day in the state of New York. Therefore, I will be voting on the affirmative. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Palmisano to explain his vote.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Speaker. And first, I'd like to thank Mr. Ortiz and Senator Carlucci, the sponsors of this legislation, for introducing this bill and for all the work you've had to get us to where we are today. And of course, to all those in both houses who worked for an agreement on this legislation. A special thank you to the amazing courage of 12-year-old Lauren Shields, a heart transplant recipient herself, who not only lent her name to this bill, but her face and voice, which was so critical for its passage. Congratulations to Lauren and to your family. Thank you. I would also be remiss if I did not mention our friend and colleague, Jim Conti, who is not only a multiple organ donor recipient himself, but is a leader who has worked tirelessly to help encourage, promote, educate, and advocate the need for greater organ donation. Thank you, Jim, for all of your efforts. You're in our thoughts and prayers. Also, Mr. Speaker, my colleagues, if you could indulge me a minute, this is a very personal issue for me. My older sister was diagnosed at 13 years old with juvenile diabetes and has had severe health problems ever since. She's been through 2 separate kidney transplants, one through the kindness and selflessness of an unnamed donor, and once I personally had the incredible opportunity and privilege myself to donate a kidney to my sister. I don't talk about that a lot, but I only say it here tonight to express that I witnessed firsthand how an organ donation can save lives and improve the quality of lives of those who are fortunate enough to receive it. And we all must continue our efforts to increase organ donation. You know, we pass many bills in this House, some good, some not so good. But every so often we have the opportunity to pass a bill that will actually save lives. And at the end of the day, this legislation will save lives. To provide better opportunities for individuals to register as an organ donor will lead to more organ donors and save lives. To continue to have this discussion and to continue to promote awareness and education on the need for organ donation will lead to increased donations and save lives. This is a good bill which will help improve all of these things, and that is something we can all stand here and should all be proud of to be here a part of tonight. Thank you, and I will be voting in the affirmative.
Mr. Godfrey to explain his vote.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This is a really good example of civics doing what it is supposed to do. I certainly want to congratulate and thank Felix Ortiz and the Speaker and his staff for their help in working through language on this bill. And, you know, ordinarily I really do not like the idea of naming laws after people. It almost never helps the thought process. In this case, though, I'm really delighted that we're calling this Lauren's Law. Lauren has been an extraordinary voice for this legislation. She is a terrific young lady, and I hope this is just the beginning of her civic involvement and standing up for what's right. Thank you, and I vote in the affirmative.
Ms. Sayward to explain her vote.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To explain my vote, first I want to thank the sponsor and certainly commend Jim Conte for all of his work. I'd like to just add a different perspective to this, and this is from a mother whose son, when my son Kyle passed away, he was an organ donor. And there's not much comfort that you get when you lose a child, but just to know that Kyle's death allowed other people to live really is something that you can hold on to. So I'm very proud to support your bill, Mr. Ortiz, and I am a sponsor on it, and that makes me proud as well. I vote in the affirmative.
Ms. Galef to explain her vote.
Just very briefly, I'd like to commend the sponsor of this legislation. And so often we read in the newspaper or hear on television, or we are speaking with our friends and neighbors and realize that people need an organ and just waiting for that donation. And unfortunately, New York State is so far behind in people signing up to make a contribution for organ donation. I can't remember what we are, maybe like the 39th state, 45. And it's so hard to believe that New Yorkers are so far behind on this, and this legislation will go a long way to improve that for the people who are in so need of organ donations. I compliment you, sponsor.
Are there any other votes? Announce the results.
Ayes 133, noes 0.
Bill is passed.